And welcome to the Intuitive Entrepreneur Show, where we bring enlightened entrepreneurs, coaches, and influencers together to discuss cutting-edge topics for the world of relationships, culture, business, and spirituality. Here's your host, Max Anjanetta Jones.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Carol's Courage to Confidence segment of the Max Anjanetta Intuitive Entrepreneur Show. Now, those of you who follow us, you know I'm your weather girl. So in the comments today, even if you're on hashtag replay, let me know where you're chiming in from and let me know what the weather's like where you are. Now, you know, the second, third, fourth, and if there's a fifth week of the month, we always have amazing guests. Who was here with me last week at the first week of the month, and it was just all about Carol. How fun was that? We got to do some teaching and training and just had a great time. Today, I am very excited to have Lauriann Greene here with us. I'm going to let her introduce herself just a little bit. I've got a couple of notes on her. And Lauriann, make sure and tell us where you're chiming in from and what the weather's like where you are today.
Hi, Carol. I'm Lauriann Greene. As you said, I'm in Philadelphia, where looking out my window, it's kind of gray and it's threatening to rain. But it's fairly warm, so I can't complain.
Wait, I forgot to tell you what the weather's like here. Oh, yeah, the heat indices. It's like 103 degrees today.
Oh, gosh.
It's in the 90s. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but it's
okay. I used to live by there.
Yeah? Where
Yeah.
part?
I was in Deerfield Beach.
Yeah, that's not far from here at all.
Yeah.
How long were you here for?
About 5 years. I was a snowbird.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, that's a big change to go from permanently living down here to permanently living up there.
Yeah, at the time I was living in France, actually. So I was going back and forth between the south of France and Florida.
You didn't put that on your profile. Like, I didn't know you were a world traveler.
It's like a lifetime ago at this point.
Well, let me ask you, I saw the big thing on the news the other day in Philadelphia about the interstate, I-95 crashing. Tell me, is that close to you or what's going on?
It's not far. It's just out of town. And of course, I-95 is a major artery. So it's a huge disaster. It's going to cause a tremendous traffic snarl up. And it's also a sign of how horrible the infrastructure is in Philadelphia and this area of Pennsylvania in general. So
because it's just so old and it hasn't been maintained, or why do you think that is? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I saw that on television, and then they were showing, I know what you're talking about, because they were showing these big old massive 18-wheelers now trying to navigate these little bitty narrow side roads, and they couldn't even make the turns.
No, it's a mess.
How much does that impact you though? You work from home, right?
I work from home. That's the advantage of being a coach is and having my own business is I get to work from home. So I'm lucky.
So I wrote down, you've had more than one successful business. You've had at least 3, you told us in your bio. Is that correct?
Yes. I had 3 companies in the space of 20 years. Most of the time I was, living in France. And I was doing, most of that time I was doing educational French and Italian wine tours. I'm a certified sommelier. This has nothing to do with what I'm doing now. But
it's way more interesting maybe, huh?
I don't know. It was interesting while it lasted, but unfortunately, the last company, which was $1 million company, the day that the European Union closed their airspace to Americans and Asians and Brazilians and lots of other nationals, the business was over.
Wow.
So, and then we went into lockdown and who knew what was going to happen. So, I decided to do something else. Wasn't going to sit and bite my fingernails for 2 years. So
before we transition into coaching, and we will,
okay.
I want to hear a little bit about that. Like, do you still keep up your certification to be a sommelier?
Well, there's nothing really to keep up. I have a French certification because I lived in France, and I went to the highest level sommelier training program in France, which is called l'Université du Vin, the University of Wine. It's
Wine.
actually an accredited university. Oh, you might see my cat's tail go by every
Pick
once in a
up.
while.
I want to see the cat. I love cats.
Oh well, if she comes again, I'll let you see her. Um, so so I got it was a 500-hour program and very, very intense. I had to do a thesis and defend it in front of a jury and take 2 days of
Mm,
testing. And so I'm a French state certified sommelier, and the way you keep it up is that you keep tasting wines. That's the best way
that's
to
a tough job.
yeah, I know, but somebody's got to do it.
Well, tell me how you transitioned from the world of wine to the world of coaching.
Well, it was, we all had a tough time with COVID. We had a long lockdown. Unfortunately, my mother was quite ill at the time,
Mm,
and I was taking care of her, and she died. She was 95, though. She lived a
mm,
great life. So, so it took me a little while to, after building this $1 million business, I was happy in a way to have. I would have preferred it wasn't COVID, but I was happy to have some time
mm,
to myself for the first time in 20 years. So I took some time for myself, and to figure out what I was going to do next. And then I joined a coaching program to help me to create a coaching program.
mhm,
As many people do, they look for a mentor, and I found a terrific mentor, and actually still in the program, but I'm already working with clients. So I decided that I wanted to do something. It's not that wine wasn't meaningful to me, but and it definitely was. And I had amazing experiences in France and Italy, went to all the best wineries, drank some amazing wine, met some amazing people. And, but I wanted to do something maybe that hit a little bit closer to home. And unfortunately, I have been struggling with hair loss since I was 20 years old.
mm,
So that is, I hate to say it, but it's more than 40 years ago. Um, and I've been through every treatment imaginable, and I've seen 3 of the best doctors in the world about it, dermatologists. And I realized that, I read a statistic that 50% of women will experience hair loss at some time in their lives. That means I didn't realize that it was so many. That means that there are millions and millions of women who, at some time in their life, will have hair loss. Um, Now, I remember from when I lost half my hair when I was 20,
mm,
um, that it's devastating. It makes you question your femininity, your sense of self. It's a loss. Like, I mean, it's not like losing a limb, but it is losing part of your body. So there's a lot of sadness involved.
mm.
Many very strong feelings involved. I didn't want to go out of the house for weeks. Luckily, I got over that because I had things to do and people to see and places to go. But I wanted to be able to work with other women. Again, there are so many who have hair loss to one degree or another. It may not be obvious as I'm sitting here because I just got my hair done, and
It
but
looks beautiful.
believe me, thank you. But believe me, it's like a quarter of what it used to be. So, and
So
some
are these
women
the women that you help? Are these the women that you help?
Yes, I help women who are dealing with hair loss, whether it's that it's just started or they've been dealing with it for years, like I have, or women who are just all of a sudden their hair starts shedding and they don't know what's going on. So I have a complete program because I don't believe in putting band-aids on things. I think if you're going to get into something that is so meaningful and so difficult for women, I think you need to really give them a lot of information and really help them and give them like a 360-degree view of the problem, so that they can change their mindset. There's so many uh, messages that we receive from society about what we're supposed to look like, how we're supposed to act as a woman, what makes somebody beautiful, what makes somebody ugly. Your hair is your crowning glory, and it's all involved in your sexuality, your desirability. And there's a lot of deprogramming that has to go on, because that's a lot of what the suffering comes from.
Is from the mindset?
It's the
Or
mindset, yeah. So, we start out with a lot of work on the mindset and letting go of those kinds of really very unreasonable expectations that society has of us, and that we're fine as we are, and that you are not your hair. It's not your hair that makes you beautiful. It's everything that you are. And I like to say that it's the light that shines from within you when you smile. That's what makes you beautiful. You can have somebody who's an obnoxious person with gorgeous hair, and I would not consider them beautiful.
you have an
So
obnoxious person with lots of money too, but
yeah, there you go too. So it's a lot of work on mindset, but then it's also a lot of information, because I believe that information is empowerment.
Well, so let me ask you
And
a couple of questions. When you're
yeah.
talking about information, are you giving them information on certain products that you use, or you're getting them to use, or information on what exactly, like the causes of hair loss?
Yes, we go very in depth into the different types. Well, first of all, the way hair works. There are different phases in the growth cycle of hair, and one of the reasons that some women have hair loss is that their hair gets stuck in one of those phases. So I go through all of the different reasons that people lose hair, all of the treatments that are available for them. And I'm a medical researcher. In addition to one of my businesses, besides the wine tours, I was a publisher of a textbook that I wrote on a medical topic. And so I've been a medical researcher as well since 1995. And
So are you saying you're a geek and a wine geek?
I'm both very, excuse me, very proud to be. So I'm also a medical geek. So I've done a lot of research on hair loss over the years, for myself, for my own edification, and then for this program as well. So I'm very medically and proof driven. So I only talk about treatments that are proven to work, that have gone through clinical trials, that are FDA approved, that actually do something. Because the old term snake oil,
Oh, yeah.
that that term actually comes from the 19th century, when they sold an oil that you were supposed to put on your scalp to grow your hair back. So it's funny,
It's the beginning
but
of time, right?
yeah,
It
and there are lots of snake oil products out there. I mean, if you look on the internet, I mean, there's
Of
millions
course,
of
for
them.
everything, right?
And of course, they prey on the vulnerability of women and men who are feeling terrible because they're losing their hair, and so they spend lots and lots of money on these things that don't work, or might even cause them harm, because this is totally unregulated industry, those kinds of products. So I stick to things that are proven to be safe, and proven to actually either stop hair from falling out or even regrow it. And there are more and more products all the time that are coming out for that. So we have a whole section on all of the sort of technical aspects. And then we get into hair care, because thinning hair is fragile hair. And you need to know how to take care of your hair now that you are losing it. You need to know how to take care of it so it doesn't make it worse. So you're
But what
being
are some
very.
things? What are some things people could do preventatively?
They can, for example, stop taking very hot showers and using very hot, rollers and hair dryers on a very high setting on their hair, because it's the chances of scalding your scalp are too high. They can use very, very mild shampoos that are designed by dermatologists to not have irritating chemicals that would irritate the scalp and make the hair loss worse. They can stop the idea of brushing your hair 100 times, 3 times a day, which is a myth. And will only aggravate any hair loss because you're pulling on your hair. It's a matter of learning how to be a lot more gentle with your hair and use gentler products. Another thing they can do is to have only one process done at a time. So you don't go to the salon and have your hair colored and relaxed or colored and bleached in the same day. You leave 2 weeks in between, so the
Let's.
scalp has time to recover.
So I want to back it up just a little bit,
Sure.
and let's just talk about. First, I want to talk about how did you get into Max's group? How did you find this? And then I want to ask you some questions about coaching in general. So
Sure.
how'd you get into Max's group?
I think it must have been through Facebook.
Mm. And then you saw that she had a show, and you went and
Yes.
applied for the show.
I did. I have done. I've been trying to do podcasts when I can, because I also want to raise awareness. It's not just that I want to promote my own program. It's also I want to raise awareness about women's hair loss. It's just something that's not spoken of.
Well, for me, I have seriously healthy hair. So,
I'm very happy for you. I wish I could say the same.
hair and nails. My mother used to be so jealous. My nails are so hard. It is like
Yeah,
you have to take, and my hair is the same way. And maybe that's because I keep it short as well. But
that's
it's
terrific.
it's kind of interesting because my hair is typically shorter than this, and it is bleached platinum, almost white blonde, like the color of Pink's hair. So I was giving a talk. I was giving a talk at a big gala last year called Unmasking Mental Health.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into the ballroom to kind of check things out. And a gentleman walks up to me. He's completely bald. He looks good bald. And nice guy. And he says, Carol, there's another coach in the room. I want you to meet this other coach. So I said, okay. So we're walking across the ballroom floor. And as we walk across, I said, well, who is it? And he said, it's Kelly Roach. And I said, oh, I know Kelly Roach. And at that moment, she turned around and she looked at me, and then she looked at my hair. And she goes, I know Carol Boston. I go, no, you don't. You know my hair. And she started cracking up. It was really funny because it was definitely much shorter than this. Like I said, it's grown out a lot.
Very distinctive.
It is, yeah, very, very platinum white. So it's interesting in that regard. And I will tell you, back in several years ago, my background is as an ex-collegiate and professional tennis player who then spent 26 years in corporate Fortune 100 companies for sales before I owned my business.
Very impressive.
Thank you. And so there was a friend of mine, David Reese, that I had known and worked with many in the 90s at AT&T. So he calls me up one day. He says, Carol, I'm the president of the local chapter of the National Sales Association, and I want you to become a member. Honestly, I didn't even check it out. It was David. It was $100. I said, sure. So I joined. I didn't think much about it. And as he's signing me up, he says, "Now I want more people just like you." Now, in my mind, I didn't ask him what that meant. What I thought was he wanted more really good salespeople because I'd been very successful.
Uh-huh.
So he invites me to come go to the national conference meeting with him up in Chicago. It was in August. It was hot as hell. And I go and he says, "I want you to come to the vice president and president's meeting early." Okay. David and I walk in this room, and I'm the only non-African American in the room.
Uh-huh.
Not only am I the only white person in the room, I'm the only one with that color hair, and it was short.
Uh,
It was hysterical, and everybody kept saying, "David, David, how did you get her?" And I looked at him, I said, "Is this what you meant when you said you want more people like me?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Why didn't you just say white people? Like, why didn't you just tell me?" Right? It was really quite fascinating to have that
But
whole
by the way, I
role
have to
reversal.
say, if you hear noise in the background, it has just started
Pouring.
hailing here,
I do hear it.
and it's coming down in sheets. So I wanted to explain the noise. I apologize, but
No, you
can't
don't have to
control the
apologize.
weather.
You can't control. I tell you, I tell people we have 4 seasons down here. We have summer, more summer, and less
Right.
summer.
Exactly.
But at least up there where you live, you actually have changes of seasons. And I have a recent past client of mine who I'm also in another business with, and she lives right outside of Philly in Phoenixville. You know where Phoenixville
Oh,
is?
yeah. I know where that is.
And so she stays in shape and she often goes for walks in the morning. And I'm so jealous lately because she goes out and she takes these beautiful pictures and it'll say temperature 67 degrees. I'm
Mm,
like, I woke up this morning at 4 a.m. and it was still in the 80s. Like
yeah.
I missed the change of season. So let it hail.
Yeah. Well, hail is unusual, I have to say. It's almost done.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. When I was a kid, I was born in Lubbock, Texas,
Ah,
and we used to have a lot of storms out there. My dad was in the insurance. He was an adjuster, right? So he would have to go climb on the roofs and look at all the damage and all that kind of stuff. And I loved storms. Remember at the beginning of the show, I said, "I'm your weather girl."
yeah.
So when I was a kid, I would go sit out at the end of the driveway and I would just wait for the storms until it was pouring. My mother
Oh,
would get so mad at me. I told that to somebody the other day, and you know what their response was to me? I need to send you this thing about childhood trauma. What? I just enjoy rain. Like everything doesn't have to be
no
about
trauma.
trauma. So back to what you do. Diet. How does diet play a role in that?
Diet does play a role. Diet plays a role in pretty much everything that has to do with physiology. Certainly, if you have an unhealthy diet, you're going to be lacking in certain nutrients that are important for the health of your scalp and hair. It's especially important to have good levels of vitamin D. Um, People can be deficient in zinc,
Mm,
um, iron. That's another important one. Usually a dermatologist will do blood tests, and they're going to, among other things, they're going to check for those kinds of levels. And if they see that you're deficient, then of course they're going to supplement that,
well, is that what
because
it was for you?
that can cause hair loss.
What was it for you?
Well, my situation, uh, there are basically two kinds of hair loss. There's hair loss where the hair can come back. And there's hair loss that's based on a disease. And
Mm.
I have an autoimmune disease that only affects my scalp. It's called lichen planopilaris. There are a bunch of them.
Wait, say that again.
Lichen planopilaris. It's actually it's related to lupus.
Okay.
And so it's an autoimmune disease, so it causes inflammation of the scalp. And when there's inflammation around the hair follicles, it forms scar tissue and then it kills the follicles. So I will not be able to get back what I lost, but I work on trying to keep it from
Keep what you
getting
got.
worse. Yes,
Gotta
exactly.
keep what you got.
Yeah. So, but that's actually quite a rare disease. The autoimmune diseases are more rare. There are other types of hair loss that are much more common.
And so do you find in the work that you do women open up easily in a group setting talking about this, or in your experience, do you do more private one-on-one coaching to help
No,
people
I
through
do
this?
group coaching because I think it's important for women to be able to speak about this in front of other people, because it helps to normalize it, and it also is reassuring to see that you're not alone. I think there's a lot of feeling of isolation when this happens to you. People tend to isolate themselves. So if they can have contact with other women who are going through the same thing, and we can say to them, we got you,
Mm.
we understand, and we've got you, we're going to help you. I think that's very healing. And again, like I said, it makes it seem more normal instead of, oh gosh, I'm the only person in the world and I'm a freak, and I don't understand what's happening to me. Doesn't happen to other people. It happens to millions of other people. So
And
I do think that group coaching is important.
and how does women's hair loss different from men's hair loss? Does it have anything to do with testosterone?
Um, It can, but it's not the major cause. Uh, it's it, we talk about male pattern baldness and or male pattern hair loss, which they tend to say more often than baldness now, and female pattern hair loss, FPHL, and men tend to lose, they get a receding hairline, and then they lose, the crown. Then they have like a ring, around the edge, because that is hair that doesn't fall out. And women tend to have diffuse hair loss. So it's a little bit all over the place that
Mm.
with female pattern hair loss, of course, with things like alopecia areata, which is, you've seen recently, the famous slap on the Oscars because of Jada Pinkett Smith, who is suffering from alopecia areata and is bald now.
But I
Ayanna,
think she looks great bald.
she does. Ayanna Pressley, who's a congresswoman, she also looks great bald.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, that's different, but generally women don't become bald unless they have these very specific and more rare kinds of diseases. So it's a diffuse thinning. You'll notice that your part will get wider,
Mm.
and if you make a ponytail, it'll feel thinner than it did before, and you start seeing your scalp through your hair. So it's a diffuse thinning. That's female pattern hair loss, which is the most common kind of hair loss. And that responds very well to products like minoxidil.
Mm.
I won't give the uh, the brand name. I don't
Brand
want to give
name.
them a free
I'm familiar with
commercial,
that. Yeah.
but it's available as a over the counter, and it's available as generic as well. So and it costs less.
I'm
So
gonna I'm gonna email
responds
you.
well to that.
I'm gonna email you some information on something else you may not have heard of, and you can give me
Sure,
your expert opinion. But we're
sure.
coming up to the end of our show, so I'd like you to tell people once again, just kind of succinctly tell us who's your ideal client, and then tell them how they can find you and work with you.
My ideal client is really any woman at any age who's experiencing hair thinning, hair shedding, hair loss, because it can happen even to little kids, unfortunately. But usually the women I work with are between 30 and 60, let's say,
Okay.
and who is ready to do something about it, to take action, and to move forward, and to the program. Our flagship program is called Hair Loss Heroines,
Okay.
because I think it takes a lot of courage to go through the program, and I think if you have that kind of courage, you're a heroine. It's an 8-week program, and we have twice a week group coaching, and you can find out more about it on the website at https://hairlossheroines.com. Very simple. And I'm also on Instagram, Hair Loss Heroines, and on Facebook, Hair Loss Heroines. So feel free to DM me or send me. We have an email contact sheet on the website, and I'd be very, very happy to work with you, help you gain confidence, and feel beautiful again.
Fantastic. Well, this has been eye-opening for me, and I'm sure for our audience, and educational. These are
I
things
hope
that I
so.
didn't know. So I very much appreciate you being here today and appreciate you sharing with us. If you're watching this on hashtag replay, make sure you put hashtag replay. Let us know that you're here. Give us your comments. If you know someone, maybe it's not you, but you know someone who's struggling with this particular challenge, give them this information. It's valuable information, and get them the help that could lead them into a happier life. This has been Carol's Courage to Confidence segment of the Max and Janetta Jones Intuitive Entrepreneur Show. Come back next Wednesday. We're here every week at 3 o'clock. I don't know who the guests are going to be, and I don't usually know till right before we go on, which makes it a ton of fun. But come back and participate. Come with us live. Give us your comments. We're here for you. And until then, blessings to each and every one of you. Make it a great week.
The Intuitive Entrepreneur Show is hosted by Max and Janetta Jones and is brought to you by Life Coaching Today magazine, empowering your health, business, community, and life. This has been a production of True Awesome Life Productions, who asked, what does your true awesome life look like? Start that journey today at trueawesomelife.com. For more information on this or past episodes,